welcome to today at the races. And we're going to take him while we can get him. We've got Tim Tulloch here on us with this morning here. Tim, this is the only day we're going to be getting you before Preakness. So welcome this morning.
Yeah, I'm one and done. But it's great to be back up here on the porch. We're 8 days out from the Black-Eyed Susan, 8 days out from the Preakness, 7 days out from the Black-Eyed Susan. So it's good to be back up here at Pimlico, and we certainly could not have a better day.
We had a gorgeous day yesterday, Tim. We have a beautiful one coming up here this afternoon, as you can see. 76, that may be ticking up a little bit, but of course, I love that things are just starting to warm right before we get into Preakness, so hopefully that carries on throughout the day and throughout the weekend. We'll see what happens, but let's get going here in this first race, which does kick off the early pick 5. Of course, low industry 12% takeout. And we start off in this claiming 5,000, which have never not won since November 12th, or never won for a mile and 16th on the dirt. Big scratch, Tim, in the number 4 in Galatians. You and I still land on Erewhon for Jonathan Maldonado. Gets Kevin Gomez today.
Yeah, that was my best bet of the day going into it. Galatians comes out, re-entered for another day. But yes, Erewhon looks like the one to beat here, returning off of a short break. First off the claim for Jonathan Maldonado. Stretching back out, ran 7/8 of a mile in his last start. It was a good race. Only got beat 3 lengths while running third. Has races on his form going a route of ground that will work. He likes to lay pretty close to the pace. He's drawing the fence. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Jonathan Maldonado has now had this one in his barn for a little bit, claimed him on the 17th of March. So this stat fits a little bit. 2 for 7 as of lately, first after the layoff, and 4 for 7 in the money with that first after the layoff stat. You also go with the number 9, an Ice Bar for Crystal Pickett. I like this pick in your exacta with Bryson Butterfly on top. I have this horse underneath regardless as well.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one. But look, tried a first level allowance race at Charlestown last start. That didn't work. That was too tough. 2 back, 1 at this beaten level at Charlestown. Okay, but if you go further back on his form, 3 and 4 back at Laurel Park and a 3 lifetime 8 and a 3 lifetime 10. Those races were okay. So I think he can get a little piece of it this afternoon. And for me, there wasn't a whole lot of others to fall in love with. You know, you've got the 8 dropping down for Hugh McMahon. Maybe that works for Can't Pass It Up. But after that and that scratch, it looks like the race goes through the 1 Erewhon.
We'll see if the rail sticks there in the first race here on Friday at Old Hilltop. Race number 2 does kick off that early pick 4. Instead of Keith, of course, Tim, you're here, and we're going to take a look at your early pick 4 ticket.
Yeah, let's go. I'm going to go too deep here in race 2. I'm using the 1 and the 2. The 1 Spectre A, 12-1. On the line, and the 6 I like a little bit here. Foodie, second time starter after winning in debut. I am going to single race 3. Here we go. First time starter, Gold Rush Hottie for David Howard. Angel Cruz gets the call. Been working up here at Pimlico and has been working lights out. I know it's a stretch, but with the scratch of 8, Fly High, Brittany Russell's this horse.
I was so intrigued by that horse, I'm like, okay, go on with it, Tim.
I had it up underneath, had him up underneath, her up underneath Fly High. In race 4, that's the first of our turf events this afternoon, I do believe, and yes, it is. I go 4 deep there, the 1, the 3, the 4, and the 9. The 9, Lady Mosler, my top pick for Mike Trombetta. And in race 5, 3 deep there, 5, 6, and 9. $12 ticket to get the day started here Friday at Pimlico.
I love that structure. I love the structure that you have of this early pick 4 ticket. So gutsy single, but a single that, again, popped my attention as well in the number 6, a first-time starter for David Howard in race number 3. But let's get back into race number 2. That does kick off everything here in this claiming 16 for the 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2. Going a mile and 16th on the dirt. Scratch in the number 5, Hop and Scotch and Scratch in the number 7, Blackwater Falls. Tim, you land on the number 1, as you mentioned, Spectrier, Rudy Sanchez, Salmon, John Novello. Morning line 12-1, but I feel like that is going to change up a bit.
That's going to come way down. Look, first off, the claim for Rudy Sanchez, Salmon, a maiden breaker in his most recent race. That was a maiden 12. This is a good spot, 2 for 16. Get a couple of scratches. It turns out to even be a better spot here today. Has speed, as you see in his route races, has drawn the rail today. Good effort, only getting outrun a half length, going 7/8 a mile early in breaking his maiden on March 10th. So this one is going to go straight to the front, has the fence. under Jean Alvello.
John Ovello. And you also have Food Foodie. You go from the inside to the outside for Fenica Bentley. Second time starter with Kevin Gomez on top. The last time we saw this one, first time out in a win, going the one-turn mile at Laurel Park. So that's, to me, that's something to be said in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it was an impressive win. This one got the job done 7 3/4 lengths, going a mile first time out in his career. That's never the easiest thing to do. Well entered here today, broke the maiden for 20 in for the 2 for 16. So I'm going to give this one a shot first against winners. And Kevin Gomez has the call, I believe.
I think he's going to have fun on that one on the outside. Yeah. Race number 3 is a maiden special weight, second leg of the early pick 5. Tim, let's talk right away about your single in this 6 furlong on the dirt affair for the straight 3-year-old fillies. Beyond the scratch, big scratch in the number 8 Fly High, but you end up landing on Gold Rush Hottie for David Howard Angel Cruz. As you mentioned, a slew of wonderful works coming into this first time.
Yeah, look, I always give horses, when a jump ball horses stable at Pimlico, when we come to Pimlico, I give them the edge. Now, maybe not so much here because this is the first time starter. Generally, I give those horses the edge. But this Gold Rush Hottie comes in here and has just been working fantastic. April 23rd, 101 breezing from the gate, 47 flat. Yeah. On April 23rd. It's got 2 works for April 23rd. We know that's not right. Then a nice work coming into this race from the gate, 48 and change right here at Pimlico. Doesn't have to ship and debut. Can get led right on out of here. It's going to be about the break. This one gets away, and you look at the horses that have run. There's not a whole ton of speed in there. This one gets to the front, could take them all away.
There's potential speed on the outside and hide away for Norman Cash, J. Ron Barbosa, coming off of that effort at the Keeneland maiden special weight level. Just not the cream of the crop in that race today. Comes back here, gets a little bit, not the drop down since we're at a maiden special weight, but amongst this field, definitely some better company here today.
Well, yeah, I mean, that last race at Keeneland, that was just too tough. So he is getting class relief here. This says she's getting class relief here this afternoon, no doubt about it. She ran 3 consecutive good races, including that April 1st race where she only got beat ahead while running second. She does have speed. She'll be using it from the outside. We'll see how it shakes out, but she's certainly a big part of the conversation in this race with the scratch of the 8 Fly High.
Let's take a look at your second in command choice and how sweet she is for Michael Trombetta. Gets Johan Rosado opening up to that last effort out, or first out effort on January 1st, second effort. Here we go. Take it away, Tim.
Yeah, look, she's the 2, and she, around the turn, passing the half-mile pole, she took herself right out of it. I mean, she backed up around the turn, and then she kind of gets running again. And once she gets straightened out here, she gets to running a bit. She's not going to catch Grace and Charm. Nobody was going to catch Grace and Charm that day. That's a Brittany Russell runner, and very few ever do. But she does run a very, very credible race. If she keeps herself in the race this afternoon, doesn't take herself too far out of it, especially around the turn, she's going to be a factor this afternoon under Johan Rosado.
And, of course, so Tim Tall goes 6-2-9-4 there in that second leg of the early pick 4 in race number 3 in that maiden special weight. Race number 4 is a claiming 25 for the girls, which have never won 2, going 5 furlongs on the turf. 3-year-olds and up, as I mentioned, scratching the number 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Tim, you land on the number 9, who is my top selection as well. And Lady Mosler now in the barn of Damon Deal DeVico. Second time in the barn for Damon Deal DeVico, with Angel Cruz yet again on top.
Yeah, this one's just very, very well spotted to get back on the grass coming out of a maiden claiming win for 40,000. We're in the 2 for 25,000 here this afternoon. As you mentioned, second off the claim for Damon. But look at her grass races from last year. There's nothing wrong with those races. Those are pretty good races. This is a very, very good spot for a filly who looks like she's in pretty good form coming out of that race, and a nice work sense.
The big one that I noticed in those turf races are the one back on the 5th of November. Regardless, it wasn't quite on the lead, but she was on a bit of an outside post. And if you look back on that race and then the race on the 14th of August, another outside post where she could take things really, really in a comfortable manner, and she really appreciated that. Now, because it's 5 furlongs, big difference from Laurel Park going 5.5 to that second wire to the 5 5 furlongs here. So, which to me, you look back at that last ride that Angel Cruz put on her. If you put the same type of ride, she is going to be loving this situation here at Pimlico.
Yeah, the 5 certainly might work in her favor, for sure.
Yes. Absolutely. You also go with the number 4, Melapanini B for Susan Cooney,
Yeah.
gets Javion Toledo here again. And let's go ahead and take a look at that effort of these two back in October.
Yeah, look, this one has been pretty good, going 5/8 of a mile, and we're picking her up around the turn here, where she kind of gets in a little tight. We can't quite see her yet. And there she is, right there.
Yes.
She gets in a little tight coming up here. Carrera Hermanos Toledo doesn't have to steady, but he really can't go anywhere. Again, here, as it starts to tighten up right around here. That's a little uncomfortable spot for a horse, but she perseveres and she keeps coming. And once she starts to get in some clean air here, now she starts to roll. She comes really, really hard this particular afternoon. Just misses at the wire. She's been very, very reliable on the grass. She's been good here in Maryland. She's 6 for 11, 1, 2, or 3 on the grass. She'll show up again this afternoon for Susan Cooney.
Something that you did bring up that I wanted to bring up again, it didn't seem like it on screen, but with the way that filly was placed when things started to get a little bit tight on her, she was just a head behind. It doesn't seem like a huge difference, but it is a huge difference, especially for fillies, a filly kind of like her. So normally they like them to be ahead in front, then they get more comfortable. So that was a nice little, not squeeze, but things did tight for her, and she was able to handle that very well.
Yeah, a little intimidating, and couldn't get a good flow going
Correct.
until after she came out of that little bit of traffic.
Let's quickly touch on the number 3, Basarati, Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell. I fought with this one on and off of my ticket. I'm glad you have this one on, Tim.
Well, it's a Brittany Russell and Sheldon. Her turf runners have been starting to pick it up.
They have, yes.
Over the last couple weeks. First time on the turf for Brittany. A couple disappointing efforts on the dirt. She had one she ran last week. I can't remember the name. Had been not running very well.
Correct.
On the dirt. Put it on the turf. That one galloped that day. I'm sure you'll remember the name.
It's back
I don't.
there somewhere.
But
Keep talking. I'll get to it.
But yeah.
The Addison Poor.
The Addison Poor. That's the one. Had run 2 or 3 disappointing races on the dirt. I mean, double-digit beat races. Same kind of scenario we're going in here with Basarati. And we'll give this one a shot on the grass. And it's a good spot.
Absolutely. To add to that, I have a special stat with poor last race, meaning they lose by double digits. Brittany Russell, 23 for 79, 29% back in the winner's circle after a poor last race. So there we go. There we have it for Tim Tulloch. 9-4-3-1 there in the 4th race. Number 5 is a nice starter allowance, going 6 furlongs on the dirt, 3-year-olds and up. Scratch, to me, big scratch in the number 1 Top Boss, scratch in the number 7 Rookie Salsa. Still a really competitive race here in the 5th. Let's go and talk about your top selection, Tim. In the number 6, Wild Behavior. This is your value play of the day for Kieran McGee, Carlos Lopez.
Yeah, with the scratch at Top Boss, it's going to come down 5-1 on the line right now. But second off the claim for McGee, steps up a little bit. First off the claim, last start April 6th at Laurel. Good-looking effort. Now, that was against beaten nickel horses. I understand that. But this one looks like it's going in the right direction. This is one of those horses stabled here at Pimlico, has been working at Pimlico. These horses at Pimlico, for 98%, 99% of the year, they're shipping down to Laurel to run. They finally get to just be led over here, and that sometimes can make a difference. I think this helps Wild Behavior this afternoon, and I expect a more improvement, and I think he'll be all right in this starter group.
I believe it. I had a really hard time selecting of who I was going to have on top in this race. I ended up going with Free Square, so we're switched around. This one is in your exacta for Lacey Gaudet, Johan Rosado. This one has had a break since the 26th of March. Super game efforts. It's interesting is that this one has developed from being kind of a need the lead horse into sitting right off of the pace, potentially sitting mid-pack, making a run out of it. So couple entries. One was an MTO scratch on the 5th of May. One was a scratch and re-entered on the 7th of May. So I'm excited to see this one back in action, and we have the changeover to Johan Rosado today.
Yeah, he's been in very, very good form over his last 6 races, performing well at this similar level. He comes in this race with a sharp work. I agree with you. He's learned to kind of lay off the pace, and that's important. Horses, as you start to run in tougher company. That speed that you thought you might have had at some point, you don't have anymore, because the tougher the company gets, the faster the horses get. So horses have to learn at some point, if they're not quite fast enough, to kind of rate behind the lead and come with some sort of finish. And Free Square has started to figure this one out.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Let's talk about the number 9, Substantial Jamie Ness. Jamie Rodriguez comes off of an effort at Pimlico. We saw him at Pimlico in last fall in a starter allowance. Just wasn't able to get there. But first off the layoff, outside post, the combination's pretty deadly. There's not much else to say after that.
Yeah,
Tim.
he's an 8-time winner. We haven't seen him since last September. He's 3 from his last 4. He finished last year really strong. He comes back here with some works, but certainly nothing to get real excited about. The works have just been okay. I mean, that's the best, and maybe he's just not a great workhorse or whatever, but it's Jamie Ness, it's Jamie Rodriguez. He's 3-1 on the line, Keith Fusel's line, so you have to respect him.
You also have to acknowledge Pit Stop Man as a pace presence here.
Yes, you do.
But you have to wonder how it's going to be landing with a couple of other substantial speed in here, Tim.
But here you go. Here's Pit Stop Man. He's stabled up here at, actually he was stabled here for a long time at Pimlico. He's familiar with the racetrack, but he's very fast, and he'll be firing on out of there.
Race, before we get back to the other races here on Friday's card, we will be right back after this commercial break.
Guess who's back again? Oh, don't believe me, just watch. Hey, 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 oh! Guess who makes me feel alive? I've been locked out of heaven. I'ma leave the door open. That's right. We out here tripping in finesse. 'Cause you're amazing. Just the way you are.
It's race number 6 now, Tim, and you know what that means. That means this is the Jackpot Super High 5 race. Of course, that hit yesterday. Let's see if you can hit it again today. It's going to happen in the starter optional 20, going a mile and 16th on the turf, scratching the number 1 Super E, the 12 Strong-Headed, and the 13 Helms Deep. Tim, you land on the number 9 Speak Unity, and we actually do, excuse me for a second, Speak Unity. Coming into this race, I think it's going to be a really nice setup here.
Yeah, stepped up to this level in most recent. Didn't get a good result. Ran 6th, but only got beat 3 lengths. Coming out of a win, first off a little bit of break. First turf race of the season for Speak Unity. That was a really nice race. Beat Battle Bus. Battle Bus would come back and not win, but run very well in his next start. So we're 2 back coming off the break. He's been good. I know he's stretching out today. 3rd off the break. That's no problem with me. You look back on his form, you'll see races where he's run very well. Going long on the main track. I think he can convert that here this afternoon on the grass.
And that's something from a horseman's perspective that I appreciate from Jamie Ness. Did well off of that first, or excuse me, Lacey Gaudette, sorry, did well off of that first effort. You look back at this similar, somewhat success going longer, tried going short, probably just to get a race in this horse, and then ended up winning and said, hey, let's go for this distance again. So I like the gradualness to this longer distance here today. You also have Lacey Gaudette, who is 5 for 22, 23% as of lately, 3rd off of the layoff. Tim, you also have the number 8, Mint Game. I'm a huge fan of this horse for Jose Magana and Javion Toledo. Let's take a look at that effort coming back into 2023.
Yeah, this was a big race, and I struggle between Mint Game and Speak Unity, although I'm getting 8-1 on Speak Unity. But this was a really big race. This was first off his winter break. He runs very well here. He comes up the fence in a good-looking effort. He's pretty consistent on the grass. He has a win over this 5/8 of a mile course here at Pimlico Racecourse. And this was, like I said, this was a big effort. I would expect another one just like this afternoon. He's going to benefit from having that race up underneath him this afternoon.
I love watching this horse run, especially when he's placed in the right spots like this one. This is a horse who absolutely loves his job. For me, he's a joy to watch. But speaking of one horse that is doing well off of the layoff, that made me pay attention to Gunslinger as my top selection, because you go right off of that 2022 debut. That resulted in a win, going to the lead, not looking back. So that's something that I'm just running with there in Gunslinger. Jr. You had this one underneath, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with his form. There's no doubt about that. He got up underneath with the scratch of the 1 super. I didn't originally use him, but after I had to redo my picks. Didn't finish off the year quite as well. That was going 7.5 furlongs. Gets to stretch out back to this mile and 16th today, where he was very, very consistent, winning a nice first level allowance race last August up there at Delaware.
Let's also talk about U.S. Constitution. I'm a fan of this horse. Mike Trombetta, Johan Rosado gets back to the turf, and overall first race of 2023 for this one, Tim.
Yeah, 2-time winner on the grass, and he has good races against similar and tougher. You go back to two back last November. That was a good race at a very similar level as today. Farther back, you're going to see some races 2 other than level. They're all right, getting beat 3 lengths a couple times, running 4th and 5th. He's working well for his return. And Mike Trombetta's turf runners, since we've gotten onto the grass, even as first-time starters, they've been running well.
They have been picking up. That is a barn trend that has been going on. They've been picking up. Let me see. Dirt to turf, 18% as of lately. So that's that's on the upswing from a 13% 2 or 3 weeks ago. So absolutely. Let's go in to race number 7 in the starter optional 20. Again, a mile and 16th on the dirt now for the 3-year-olds and up. Tim, you and I both have a clubman on the on top. Why not? Robbie Bales, Xavier Perez returns for the ride in this one. Ran on a wet track in the Henry Clark. Trying to get a little bit, got sent forward to me a little bit. This one likes to come from off of the pace, but he can technically come from anywhere, Tim.
Yeah, this race features Clubman and the 8-horse Bobby G, and this is a bit of a horse race. You see Clubman going very, very wide into the stretch, and Bobby G down toward the inside there in the pink. It looks like Clubman. There he is. He's in front. He wins from here, right? No. Bobby G is game as Dick Tracy through the stretch. Comes right back on him. He had the best trip around the turn. Maybe had a little bit left, as he surely does right here. Good-looking race from both those horses, the 3 Clubman and the 8 Bobby G. But we'll start with our top pick. That is the 3 Clubman. He's a 15-time winning 9-year-old who consistently delivers good races. He's winner 2 of his last 3 at this level. He'll be outrun a little bit early. He will be coming with his run in the end. The only negative about Clubman is he's 0 for 6 here at Pimlico, and he only has 1/3 to show for his efforts here at Pimlico. So we'll have to see how it shakes out for Clubman this afternoon.
We will. Let's touch in on Aristocat, who you and I both have underneath for Anthony Ferrier. Arnaldo Boca Chica, flashy number last time out at the 16 numbers of 3, steps it up here today, gets 2 turns yet again, which this one is a fan of.
A reclaim by Anthony Ferrier, draws the inside, has Boca Chica, has speed, probably is faster than any other potential speed, going right to the front. Could be prove very, very hard to catch.
I agree, and
especially if he goes unmenaced.
Yes, absolutely. We touched enough on Bobby G. I mean, Bobby G is so fun to watch, especially that last effort that we saw in that video. You wrap up your picks with the number 1 Guillaume for Kenny Cox, gets Louis Rivera Jr., gets the rail. How do you think this rail is going to work out for this one today?
Well, I'm just hoping something works out for this one today. This horse is fun. He's been in good form from time to time. 2 back over a muddy track down there at Laurel. Good effort, but sandwiched on each side of that, there are 2 bad double beat efforts. He's capable of running better. This is a better spot today. I think he bounces back to some extent.
Let's see if he does with that weight off. There's one clear objective there on the rail for Guillaume. They're in race number 7. As Tim Tullett goes 3-2-8-1 for race number 7. Race number 8 is a restricted allowance for the girls, 3 years old and upward. On the turf here, going short on the turf, 5 furlongs. No scratches in here today. Tim, let's talk about your top selection in the number 7. In vain for Mike Trombetta gets Johan Rosado. This is your best bet of the day.
It is. This is a Mike Trombetta running, making her season debut this year on the grass. She's run on the grass before. She has a very, very good work tab coming into today's race. She has a big race finishing out last year against open allowance fillies. Only got beat a length while running 3rd. Previous races very, very good. She gets into a state bred race here this afternoon. I think that is going to get her over the top to get take down one of these allowance races. And she's always in the mix. I mean, she's always in the mix. She doesn't have a race on her form going back 8-9 races that she's been worse than third, wins and seconds, and so she's honest as the day is long.
Another one that potentially could be honest as the day is long is the number 6 Flirtatious Last for Gary Cap, J-Ron Barbosa. Although, however, we want to say as long as the day is long, but this one is a speed filly. She's coming back off of that first 2023 race, coming off of that winter break. But you do have Gary Capuano, who's been 9 for 27, 33% as of late in the winner's circle first after a layoff.
All I keep looking at is this is a 5 furlong filly.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what she's going to get today. As you mentioned, first after the break, the works have been solid. You can expect the J-Ron Barbosa to be putting this one right up in the mix of things, maybe trying to get the jump on everybody else here this afternoon. But she's a 5 furlong filly who shows good races at first level allowance level up there at Delaware Park last summer.
I would have to say so. Absolutely, it fits the bill with her. Let's talk about summer odds.
Let's talk about summer odds.
Let's talk about summer odds for Diana McClure. Bryson Butterfly back in the saddle. This one was on the turf once over at Colonial in the Camptown. Came from way off of the pace. Showed a little bit of turn of foot, but past tiring. Showed up, but really, what intrigued me is that this one's fit. She's coming into this race very, very fit, especially for a right off of the, coming into a couple of these horses that are coming in first off of the layoff. So that's immediately, that's just a preference with me. That's immediately what I go to. Key race is going to be 3 back on the 17th of February in that state bred allowance. On the off-going, which can transfer pretty well, showed a nice turn of foot there, just missed out.
Yeah, look, she's in very, very good form right now. She hasn't run a bad race this year. She's been pretty honest throughout her career. I'm not sure. I think the key race might be the Camptown from last year where she only got beat 3 lengths to Spun Glass. Spun Glass would win that race, would come back and win another restricted stake race on the grass, I believe. I have to go back and look. But Spun Glass is okay, and she ran pretty close to Spun Glass. That was the last time we saw her on the grass. Now she gets back on the turf at a first level, state bred level.
Yep.
It could be enough for her. I toyed with her. I'm glad to see you have her on top. 5-1 on the line with Bryson Butterfly.
We both also throw Island Philo for Susan Cooney just to throw in the mix as Tim Hallett goes 7-6-4-9. I go 4-6-9-7. Any thoughts about that Susan Cooney Island Philo?
Well, I have thoughts on both of Susan Cooney's runners. She's always dangerous. We'll start with Island Philo. She's been running very, very well. The race over the course rated good. In her last start was at a first level open allowance race, maybe a little bit tough, got in a little trouble into the turn, but previous to that, she ran a length and a half behind Spun Glass in the Camptown. Other races up here at Laurel at the state bred allowance races where she ran very, very well. And Grand Skylark, you can make an argument for that one too if you go back to her races from last summer where she got the job done at that starter 10,000 level in September, and then also the race before. So you make an argument for either one of those horses in race number 8.
You never know. We'll find out how that one shakes out there in race number 8. Race number 9 is a maiden claiming 30 to wrap up the affairs of today, going 6 furlongs on the dirt for the girls, 3 to 5-year-olds. And we're going to take a look at your top selection. You know for Jane Sabelli gets Jamie Rodriguez here today, coming off of those Gulfstream Park efforts on the synthetic, returns back to the dirt, which I guess is your key.
That's the key. I mean, just look at the races on the dirt. They were good efforts. 3, even though she ran okay on the synthetic in March down there at Gulfstream. The February 2nd race on the main track, run second. The 2 races before that on the main track. She ran very, very well. Has been working up there at Delaware Park. So I'm going to take on the dirt, back on the dirt off the synthetic for Jane Sabelli.
Tim certainly knows with as his top selection. Let's talk about Baby Socks on the outside for Rudy Rodriguez. Gets the blinkers on. Axel Concepcion, a decent effort last time out at New York.
This is a filly who run pretty well all 3 of her starts. I mean, they haven't been disgraceful races. Ran second last time, maiden 20, the day that Rudy Rod claimed this one. Lifetime best finish in her most recent race. comes in here with 4 works since then, 2-1 on the line with Alex Concepcion. Must be respected for sure.
Was entered on the 16th of April at Aqueduct, going on the turf, was an MTO, but dumped up for the 40 level, so that was interesting as well. Any last words on the number 4 or the 5? Poggy Bonsi or Auntie Rona for Jane Sibeli and Tim Keefe, respectively. Tim.
Well, the 5, Auntie Rona, this is a filly who hasn't run. She's run twice. They've both been very, very positive races. There's nothing wrong with those 2 starts. Only gets beat 3 lengths. We're running second most recently. So turning back to the 3/4 today, but she ran 5.5 in debut. And again, it was a good race. She was outrun 6 lengths. She came with a little bit of a finish. Only got beat 2 lengths when, well, not getting away the best. So a little bit better break could change her fortunes turning back to 3/4 of a mile today. Poggy Bonsi, another interesting horse for Sibeli for me, debuted on the synthetic, gets the main track and Javion Toledo, and that's enough for me to spark my interest.
How about this? Poggy Bonsi, Jane Sibeli, second start as of lately. The last 15 second-time starters, 4 wins, 3 seconds. So that's 27% in the winner's circle and 7 for 15 in first or second for Jane Sibeli. So why not? Absolutely, Poggy Bonsi. I like what I see there. And that's going to wrap up our chat here for the Friday races. Let's head over to Lightning Round just to touch up on a couple of things. Tim, like your value play of the day, let's get going on your value play. In race number 5, the number 6, Wild Behavior, walking right out of the stall for Kieran McGee.
He is, and we're not going to get, it's 5-1 on the line. We're not going to get what I wanted with the scratch, the 1 top boss. But second off the claim for McGee, I know stepping up to this starter level this afternoon, but that was a big race first off the claim. The key is McGee and all these Pimlico trainers tend to do very, very well when they actually get to race at the track they train at. I think this one will improve again this afternoon for Kieran McGee.
I like that. I like that phrase. McGee is key there in that angle right there. So let's go ahead on to your best bet of the day. In vain, race number 8 for Mike Trombetta and Johan Rosado.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to, this filly just shows up, and she shows up all the time. It's hard for me to root against her. She's making her seasonal debut this afternoon for Trombetta. We talked earlier, his turf runners have been showing up all the time. Comes out of a race where she just missed in an open allowance race to finish off the 2022 campaign. Comes in a state bred allowance race to start off this year.
Yesterday I covered the noms for the girls on the turf. Now let's cover some of the boys on the turf, starting in the dinner party. Now remember, Tim, the dinner party stakes, that's where the Preakness really got started. A horse named Preakness won the dinner party stakes back in 1870 and really got this whole shebang going. So overlooking, I haven't had too much of a chance to look really hard at a couple of these nominations, but is anything popping out at you, Tim?
Not so far. I need to look once the entries come out. You can look at the nominations, kind of get a feel, but you really don't know where horses are going. You got a couple horses that are cross-entered. Doppelganger for one. I know he's cross-nominated to the special. So no real thoughts on them yet, but I'll let you know as we get closer.
Let's take a look then at the next nom that we have coming up in the James Murphy Stakes. That's going a bit shorter. I always look immediately for the local horses that have been here on the go back of seeing what's coming up. I see Coffee with Crisp again, probably a double nominated, but again, take a look at these other nominations in the James Murphy and of course the Jim McKay Stakes that we have coming up in this next slide. But take a look at that, of course, the Jim McKay. What is, out of these 3, what is your favorite, name your top race out of the Jim McKay, the James Murphy, and the dinner party, Tim?
Well, for me, it's the James Murphy. I just got beat ahead in it one year. It was awfully disappointing, but got beat ahead with a horse named Mr. Hanson. Was an exciting day. That particular day had another winner, I think, that day also. So, yeah, I always lean toward the races that I've either won or came close to winning.
There we go. There we go. And there we have it. Look out in the eye for James in the James Murphy Stakes, because Tim Tulloch certainly will be, as that it's his highlight boy race of the Preakness weekend coming up next weekend. But we're going to go to Dave Rodman in just a couple of seconds for some more changes and scratches. Thank you, and good luck, everybody.